Salamanca, Spain for about 2 weeks now. The language school I'm going to, Colegio Libes, organizes weekend excursions, which cost a little extra, but they're pretty reasonable. The one I'm going to be talking about today to La Sierra de Francia was about 50 euros, and that included the bus, 3 stops at different towns in La Sierra de Francia, and a tour guide. So yeah, let's get started with information about La Sierra de Francia. Despite the name, La Sierra de Francia is not in France. If you thought that, don't worry, you're not alone. But it's actually located in La Comunidad de Castilla y León within the province of Salamanca, not to be confused with the city of Salamanca. It's a province within Castilla y León, and La Sierra de Francia is located, I believe, in the southwest portion of the Salamanca province. Geography, learning together. As the name would suggest, the area is pretty mountainous, hence La Sierra. So the French part of La Sierra de Francia originates from the fact that during the 11th century, King Alfonso VI married his daughter to a guy named Raymond of Burgundy, who was charged with repopulating the area, and he brought over a French colony. So the footage you're seeing now is of the first town we stopped at, Miranda del Castañar. This town is very well known for its castillo, or castle, as well as its very well preserved 13th century wall, which features 4 gates, each facing a cardinal direction. We entered through the gate of San Ginés, which I believe is the patron saint of the town, though I may be wrong on that. Then we had some time to walk around and take in the town and its mountainous views. In the distance, you can see La Peña de Francia, which has a shrine and monastery at the top. So if you have time to visit places like that, I recommend doing so. There's a lot of hiking paths in the area as well, chief among them being El Parque Natural de las Valtecas. From my understanding, there are a lot of chestnut trees in the area, and that's part of where the name of the town originates. Castañar comes from castañas, which means chestnuts in Spanish. So obviously the name and heritage derives from some of the natural landscapes surrounding the town. The last place we visited in Miranda del Castañar was Bodega La Moralla, and I think it used to be an old winery, or a place where they stored wine underground, and it's now been converted into a small shop. The owner gives a complimentary tour. It is all in Spanish though, so if you have language skills, I recommend brushing up on them. But if not, it's still a great experience, and it's great to go in and look around. So after Miranda del Castañar, we left for what is probably the most visited and well-known area of La Sierra de Francia, known as La Alberca. Like La Miranda del Castañar, you'll see a lot of very beautiful homes in La Alberca in the French colombage style, which basically just means half-timbered. In La Alberca, our tour guide shared a lot of information about the traditional houses in the region. If you visit, you'll notice that there are 2 doors on the bottom floor. The one on the right is the entry for livestock, which lived on the bottom floor. The entrance on the left is for the inhabitants of the house, and it's a bit smaller and leads to a staircase up to the higher floors. Fun fact, you'll also notice on some of the doors little holes, which were meant for cats, which helped keep the rats and mice away. Anyway, moving on to the second floor, or what in Spain would be considered the first floor. You'll move into what were the sleeping quarters for the family, as well as a pantry area. The third floor was used for cooking and dining, and the museum we went to, which included a restored interior of one of these traditional houses, included a 4th floor, but from what I could tell, it was used as a storage area, and there was also an oven to bake bread up there. So if you have the chance to go to this museum, I recommend it. It was very informational and cool to see. And they also included a free shot at the end with some of the alcohol that's made in the town. So that was cool. And it only costs €2. So I would say it was worth it. We were also able to eat at a restaurant in the main plaza, where I was able to try one of the regional dishes called limon serrano. It included thinly sliced chorizo with hard-boiled eggs, oranges, and some lemon juice. It was served cold, and it was a little bit interesting, but I would recommend trying something that's local to the region, because you probably won't have the chance to again. So moving on to some cool history about the town. The word Alberca in Spanish is synonymous with piscina, which means pool, so I assume the name is derived from the fountain at the center of the plaza or from some other water source in the area, though I'm not sure. People have been living in the area since before the arrival of the Romans, and above many of the doors, a cool detail that you'll notice is some crosses and also other Catholic insignia. During the 14th and 15th century, there was a push to expel the Jewish people in the region, so a lot of Jewish families converted to Catholicism to avoid expulsion. But these families were known as Cristianos Nuevos or Conversos, and there were a lot of discriminatory laws passed by the monarchy in Spain during this time. So a lot of these new Christians would engrave crosses and other anagrams of Jesus and Mary on the lintels of their doors so that they could pass off as old Christians, meaning that they had been Christians for their entire lives, even though they hadn't, and many of them actually still remain faithful to the Jewish religion. So another interesting aspect of La Alberca, which also has its roots in converted Jewish families proving their Christianity to avoid questions from the Inquisition, is a tradition called Morano de San Anton. Originally, these families would gift a pig to the town as an act of good faith, but now every year it's a tradition to release a pig on June 13th into La Alberca, where it will stay for 7 months until it's been fattened up. Then on January 17th, there is the Feast of San Anton, or the Feast of Saint Antonio, where the whole town gathers together and they'll eat this pig. There's a pig statue located by the church which commemorates this tradition, and yeah, check that out, it's pretty cool. So that pretty much sums up what I learned in Alberca. The last town we visited was Mogarraz. This town has consistently been ranked among the most beautiful in Spain. We were only really here for 40 minutes, so we mostly just got to walk around and admire the portraits for which it's famous for. The portraits weren't actually put up until the early 2000s, but they originate from photos taken by a local photographer, Alejandro Martin, in the 1960s of town residents. Unfortunately, many of the people in the portraits taken from the 1960s had to leave due to economic downturn during this time period. However, local artist Florencio Maglio initiated a project in the early 2000s to paint giant portraits of past residents as well as current ones and hang them around the residencies and places where they used to work. So you'll notice in a lot of the portraits there are people actually doing their job. In one of them there's a shoemaker, and another one I think it's a tavern owner. So yeah, today it's considered one of the most beautiful towns, and I think it's pretty cool to see, and I thought it was also beautiful but a lot of people actually say it's kind of creepy and that the portraits remind them of ghosts, so I encourage you to visit and form an opinion for yourself. That's pretty much all I have for today and La Sierra de Francia. There's a ton more history, I'm sure, that I didn't include here, but I hope you enjoyed it and you learned a few new things with me. So, see you next time.